Hey ladies, welcome back to the podcast. Today we're talking about something that I think almost every woman over the 40 needs to hear. Punishment no longer works when you're trying to make behavior change. Not with your body, not with your hormones, not with your health, and honestly, not even with your mind. For so many years, many of us were taught that health came from being harder on ourselves, eat less, push more, skip meals, ignore when you're hungry, start over on Monday, punish yourself for quote unquote being bad, exercising more to alleviate and to feel better after you've eaten. And maybe when you were younger, that worked. Your body tolerated that approach a little bit more, but you're finding that as you've gotten older, it doesn't work anymore. Your body has changed, and the strategies that once seemed to work now may leave you feeling exhausted, frustrated, stressed, and feeling like you're never going to be able to achieve the health goals that you desire. The body now responds far better to support than punishment. So today we're going to talk about why punishment stops working when we're trying to make behavior changes to our health, what support looks like, why self-criticism tends to make things worse, and some ways to start to support yourself as your body is adapting and changing and you are catching up to those changes. Welcome to the Whole Health Empowerment Project podcast. This show is for women over 40 who are trying to create balance in their life when it comes to food, body, self-care, and wellness. You struggle to put yourself first, to maintain consistency when something isn't perfect, or maybe you feel like you don't have enough time or willpower to achieve the goals you desire. I'm your host, Trisha Stefankowitz, registered dietitian, nutritionist. I've worked with women like you achieve their goals by focusing on the next best step, no matter how messy, and meeting you where you are right now. In this show, you'll learn practical information, actionable strategies, and mindset tweaks so that you can feel healthier, more comfortable in your body, and make choices that work for your life. Come join me in failing forward, one imperfect step at a time, into the journey of health, wellness, and self-care. Welcome to your new project. First, let's talk about why punishment stops working. As you are moving through perimenopause, menopause, or any of those things where you're having fluctuating hormones, your estrogen changes, your stress hormones become more impactful and have more of an influence on all the things that are happening in your body. Your sleep may worsen, especially if you're having hot flashes or feel the need to wake up and pee. When you are working out, you may notice that recovery takes longer and that you're sore longer. And as part of these hormonal changes happen, you will also have a decrease in your muscle mass. Your body in and of itself is becoming more vulnerable to stress. There is more stress probably happening in your life than it was when you were in your 20s and 30s, perhaps. But your body doesn't know the difference when you're emotionally stressed, over-exercising, doing that like chronic criticism of yourself, when you're not sleeping enough, you're not eating enough, or when you're just overeating or overwhelmed. It all registers as stress. So when women respond to weight gain or low energy by becoming even harsher on yourself, your body often may push back. So you may hear women say, or you may yourself be saying, I'm eating less than ever, but nothing's happening. And that's because your body is not looking for more punishment. It's looking for safety and support. Punishment, what does that look like in real life? I'm sure I don't have to tell you this because I'm sure each of you probably knows this, as we've all been doing it probably at some point in our life. It can look like skipping breakfast in the morning because you overate the night before and you're trying to save yourself calories. It could mean that you're doing these exhaustive workouts because of what you've eaten or how you look, or because you feel guilty about what you've eaten. You may refuse to rest, that you keep going, going, going. It might present as you see yourself in the mirror and you're thinking just, ugh, look at my body, or talking to yourself pretty cruelly, like, I can't believe this is what I look like. How did I get here? This belief that you have to, quote unquote, earn what you eat for the day. It may be that you start avoiding like carbs or sugar because you feel like you're not supposed to eat it. It's a bad food. Or it may just mean that you are in this place that you're doing this like yo-yo dieting where it's extreme and then it's not. And so maybe the hardest part here is that a lot of women think that this punishment is actually discipline, but they're not the same. That discipline and punishment are different. Punishment is often driven by the shame of it all, the shame of overeating, the shame of how you look, the shame of the composition of the food that you're eating, just shame in general about how you got here. And support is driven by care, right? So punishment is you're punishing yourself because there's a lot of shame there. And support is driven by how you're caring for yourself and starting to figure out how to give your body what it needs as it starts to adapt. And your body responds very differently to each of them. It will respond differently to punishment than it will to support. Let's talk about what this looks like when we're talking about support versus punishment. Let's say you had a day where you were emotionally eating after a really hard day. Maybe you had a lot of stuff, a lot of shit that came up during the day. Maybe you were just like fucking spent because your day was just hard and there was just a lot of choices that you had to make and it was just too much. Punishment will say, remember, this is the shame coming out. You have no willpower. Tomorrow, you just really won't eat that much because you gotta kind of make up for all that you ate today. Support will say to you, all right, you're overwhelmed, you're exhausted. What do you actually need right now? What is it that's going to make you feel better? Because eating tends to be comfortable for the moment. And then there's that feeling is still usually underneath the feeling of support that you need and the desire, whatever that emotion is that you're trying to get to. Because maybe what you really need is something like, maybe you need rest. Maybe you need sleep. Maybe you need emotional support. Maybe you need time to decompress. Maybe it was the composition of the way that you ate. Maybe you ate like pretty high carb foods during the day and you really just needed a little bit of protein. Maybe that's how it looks, right? So you're, instead of tapping into punishing yourself for what you did, you're starting to tap into what is it that you can do to support yourself through this time by what's truly going on. What is happening? Are you chronically stressed? Did you not sleep well last night? What is it? Because ultimately, in order to break the patterns of what you feel like is hindering you, you kind of have to understand what is going on. Are you pushing yourself too hard? Are you not setting boundaries and that you need to set them so you can have more time to yourself? Do you need some emotional support? Do you need to talk to a therapist? Do you need to have more time with your friends so that you can just decompress instead of keeping everything in? Food may have become the coping tool that you're using because you are trying to find some kind of relief. But it's not the underlying, it's not really the issue. It's the issue is what's going on. And so support looks like looking at the root cause of what's going on instead of attacking yourself for something that really isn't even going to help you. Food is going to help you in the moment, but it's not going to help you in the long term. So that's what support looks like in that situation. Let's talk about missing workouts. We've all done that where we've said, all right, this week I'm going to try to work out 3 times a week, 4 times a week. Most people are going to probably try to overdo it and be like, I'm going to work out most days. Punishment will say, you're so lazy. You never stick to anything. Why can't you do it? What's wrong with you? Why can't I do it? The support part means that looking at how realistic was the plan for you in this season of your life? Do you have other things going on? Like maybe it just wasn't meant to be that you do that particular workout every single day this week. Maybe your body needs something else. Does your body need a shorter workout? Does it need to do walking instead of an intense cardio routine that you planned? Do you need to do strength training less? Maybe you don't need to do it every day. Maybe you just need to do it 2 to 3 times a week. And with all of this, it's not the idea of being perfect. The idea here and to support yourself is to be flexible, because ultimately you're trying to do these things for the rest of your life to be able to have some strategies. Not that you're doing it every day or that you're being perfect with it. It's that it becomes part of your lifestyle. And so if you get in this place where you're punishing yourself and saying, I can't believe I didn't do it, well, then you're going to have periods where you're not going to be able to accept that you're not doing it. And then you start to shame yourself. But really, if you were able to switch that mindset a little bit more and be like, okay, this is the season of life that I'm in for right now. And I'm going to try to do what I can to support myself right now and have these shorter workouts or do things that are going to help me. Maybe that's what my body really needs. Support will help you adapt and be more flexible. Punishment is going to shame you and have more rigidity. Last year when my mom was going through chemo, my mom died last year of cancer. And I remember that I think for myself, I was having a really hard time, like going back and forth between like punishing myself that I wasn't working out. And then also having this time where I was like, all right, I got to probably support myself here because I can't do everything. There's so much shit going on. But it was like that constant flux of like that old voice inside of me shaming myself that I wasn't doing what I needed to, versus this other voice where it was like, okay, I can only do the best that I can. I have a lot of stuff going on. And so ultimately the goal here is to be able to find more support for yourself so that you can adapt, be more flexible, and continue these behaviors for the rest of your life. Example 3 is weight gain during perimenopause, menopause, or any supportive or any hormone changes that you're going through. Punishment says eat less, try harder. And if you're not getting the result within like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks or a month, something is wrong with you. Where support says your body's changing hormonally, you're trying to adapt. How can we work with what's happening within your body instead of against it? For you at this particular time, support may look like all of the things you hear about when we talk about perimenopause, menopause, and hormonal changes, which is increasing protein, prioritizing sleep, trying to balance your blood sugar, reducing any chronic stress, eating enough instead of dieting, and strength training. Your body often becomes more cooperative when it feels supported. It's very hard to cooperate with yourself and to be accepting and to be flexible when you're constantly attacking yourself. So let's talk about why support actually creates more consistency. Women often believe that being hard on yourself will motivate you. I know I've certainly felt that way, and sometimes I still do. But it actually does the opposite. When you're constantly criticizing yourself, you start to have that increased feeling of shame. You may start to get that like overwhelming sense of like feeling stressed. Your nervous system may feel a little bit frazzled. Your motivation drops. You may start to really get into that all or nothing thinking that you can't get out of. It's like that cycle. And then you may also find yourself emotionally eating because you're trying to numb those feelings, cope with those feelings, make those feelings go away. But if you were able to switch to a mindset of being more supportive and looking at and being curious, we talked about that recently, about the changes that your body's going through and how to adapt and be flexible, it's going to create some sustainability here. Because support will say, I can care for myself even when I'm struggling. I can give myself what it needs right now. And that may change everything. It's going to empower you that you don't have to numb and cope, that you can really start to think about it directly, about what you can do. So a supportive mindset helps you recover faster from those hard days of emotional eating or beating yourself up instead of spiraling after one mistake. Being supportive and having that supportive mindset is going to lead to flexibility. Punishment is going to lead to shame and inflexibility. One healthy meal isn't the problem. One missed workout isn't the problem. The real problem is what happens after those feelings of guilt and shame come up, and that feeling that you've already ruined it. How can you keep going? And the idea that you're going to give up. Support will help you come back faster, recover faster than punishment ever will. So now let's talk about what supporting yourself actually looks like. How can you support yourself? Here are some practical ways. If you start to think about your body, you're eating to support your body, not to punish it. So you're going to be focusing on things that are going to provide the most support when it comes to nutrition. It's going to be making sure that you're having balanced meals throughout the day, that you are not skipping meals so that you would have blood sugar dips and you probably wouldn't feel that great. It means having a little bit of protein and fiber at every meal. And instead of asking yourself, how little can I eat? How can I minimize my calories during this meal? Instead, you start thinking about what's going to help you feel nourished, what's going to help you feel like you're giving your body what it needs, especially if you've had a hard workout, especially if you haven't pooped or eaten any fruits and veggies in a couple of days, really looking at that fiber content. Second is prioritizing your sleep and recovery, which we hear a lot about during this time, because many women we are overfunctioners and we function very well when we're exhausted. And when we don't have enough sleep, we have an increase in cravings, an increase in hunger hormones, an increase in stress hormones. Your metabolism may be out of whack. The way that you're able to regulate yourself may feel out of whack. So if you're able to prioritize sleep while also prioritizing rest days, if you're working out a lot, that's what's going to be the most productive for you in terms of healing and supporting yourself as your body is adapting to these new changes that are happening. Number 3, one of the most important is changing the way that you speak to yourself. You cannot hate yourself into long-term health. You can't punish yourself into long-term health, and you can't bully yourself into long-term health. Noticing your inner dialogue is going to be really important, especially as you're shifting to a mindset of punishment, to a mindset of being more supportive to what you need from an emotional standpoint and a physical and mental viewpoint. When we start thinking about, would you speak to your parents, your child, your best friend, the way that you speak to yourself? Most of the time, I know that you're like, no, of course I wouldn't, but it's me, so I can say whatever I want to myself. But I think if you're starting to notice that supportive self-talk is going to be better in terms of, I think, everything. You're going to feel like you can start to take care of yourself. There can be some ownership there, but it can also be really kind, because why don't you deserve to be spoken to kindly? Who's doing that for you? And so that looks something like, this is hard right now. It's not going to be forever, but I can still take care of myself. Maybe you won't be taking care of yourself the way that you normally would, but you can take care of yourself in a way that you're able to feel the emotions that you're feeling, and maybe really breaking it down into something simple that you feel like you're still having ownership of what you're doing. So, and knowing that it's not going to last forever, this is just a season, and that it might be hard for this season, but you'll be able to get through it. That's what's going to really help you more than anything. I think we're all waiting for motivation, but it's this idea of like, all right, this is just what it is for right now. I'll be able to get through it, and it's going to be okay. Number 4 is building consistency instead of going through extremes. So if you're able to talk to yourself kindly and not beat yourself up, if you're able to support yourself, then you don't get into this extreme of everything has to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, then I can't do it. If you're able to be more flexible and more supportive, your body will start to trust that, and you will be able to build consistency in that. You won't feel this need to constantly start over, that you're going to do these all or nothing plans, and that you're not going to keep rewarding yourself with these punishing workouts, that you can just do what your body needs for right now. These small supportive actions, repeated consistently, matter way more than perfection. Because if you're able to be like, okay, today I need a walk and this makes me feel good, well, then the next time, hopefully you feel that way, you go for a walk, even if it's 10 minutes, not judging it, not being perfect. That can create real consistency because you feel that it's giving you and supporting you for what you need right now, as opposed to not doing anything because it's not going to be hard enough, or it's not what you thought you were going to be doing today. And lastly, giving your nervous system what it actually needs. Sometimes what we think is happening might look differently. So sometimes we may think that that we're hungry, or that we're feeling all of these other feelings, like we're overstimulated, or we're lonely, or we're stressed, or we're exhausted. And instead of punishing ourselves by eating more to cope with those feelings, to numb those feelings, to make them go away, supporting yourself may look like going outside, breathing, taking a couple breaths, calling a friend, looking in your journal, logging in your journal, sitting quietly, asking for help. Your body is always communicating something. And so I think for a lot of women, including myself, it feels too hard to deal with those emotions at this particular time. And so it's much easier to do something else, like let me watch TV for a couple minutes, or let me eat these chocolate chips or chocolate chip cookies because it'll make me feel better. But in the long term, it won't. You're just kind of like avoiding. You're not actually dealing with the feelings. So your body's always communicating something. So until you're able to really sit with yourself, figure out what your adapting body needs, you're always going to probably find yourself in these behaviors. So if you're able to really start to support yourself and figure out what is actually going on at this particular moment, and not punishing yourself, but finding a place that you can really dig into what it is you're actually feeling, well, then that's what's going to help you the most, because you're giving your body what it needs instead of avoiding coping and being inflexible and doing something else that your body probably isn't asking for. If you take one thing away from today's episode, let it be this. Your body is not responding to punishment the way it used to, because it was never designed to thrive under this constant stress that we find ourselves in. It becomes less about controlling and criticizing yourself. And really the goal here is to learn how to support yourself consistently. Support is not letting yourself go. Support is having boundaries, having compassion, being consistent, learning to work with your body instead of constantly fighting it, nourishing your body the way that it needs to nourish, giving yourself enough water, eating things that have protein in it like fruits and veggies. Supporting yourself looks like having boundaries, being able to recover, whether that means having more rest days or spending more time really thinking about what's going on in your body, having compassion for yourself when you're not able to do the things that you thought that you were able to do, or if you've had a bad day, learning to be consistent, learning to nourish your body, giving it what it needs, whether it's water or fiber or protein or fruits or veggies, learning how to be with yourself instead of constantly fighting it. And ironically, when women stop attacking themselves, that's often when your body starts to respond. That's when you start to adapt. That's when your body starts to be like, oh, okay, she's listening to me. I thank you so much for listening today. And if this episode resonated with you, please share it with other women over 40 who may need this reminder. I'll see you guys back here next week. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you found value in this podcast, please rate, review, or subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends. Together, we can take tiny, imperfect steps towards creating the whole health we desire and deserve. Don't forget to grab your freebie. You can find the link in your show notes or over at triciard.com. I'll see you back here next week.